Welcome to a new episode of my all-time favorite television show, I Know Jax. I'm Joe Talentino. Now you think I say that because I have my pretty face plastered all over it, but no, that's not why I like it. It's my favorite because of the things it allows me to do. The other day I went to one of my usual hangouts in Neptune Beach, Al's Pizza. You'll often find me there on Thursdays when they have dollar slices and of course dollar beers. This time I ended up talking to Greg and his lovely lady friends who were also visiting Al's. We talked about I Know Jax and how much I enjoy going around in Jacksonville for the show, talking to chefs and tasting food. All of us agreed that I'm living the dream. That's why I can honestly say that I Know Jax, without a doubt, is my all-time favorite TV show. Most of the stories we do for I Know Jax come from suggestions from viewers just like you who write to me and tell me why I should visit a particular place. If you watch the show or hang out on our Facebook page, it sure seems as if I'm a non-stop eating and drinking machine. So I understand that it's hard for you to believe that I have any other interest in life. I do love outdoors, even though I don't get out as often as I like. I also love live music, and I like exploring our area in any way I can. Now, I don't call myself a history buff, but I do appreciate history, and I'm always fascinated by how people used to live back in the colonial days. Tell me exactly, what is the Colonial Quarters?
Well, it's 2 acres of awesome. We cover 300 years of history on 2 acres.
I love it.
We've got 2 restaurants, we've got retail, you can climb a 35-foot watchtower, you can watch a ship being built, we've got a blacksmith, we've got a gunsmith. It's just a really great, entertaining, historical adventure.
2 acres awesome. I don't need to say anything more now, it's done.
Well, the idea is to make history interesting. We're on an authentic site. We're in a place where history actually happens.
It's all
so
real.
The very ground you're walking on has stories, but we try to tell those stories in an interesting way. So it's about real people and what they would have done to survive back in the day. We've got 16th, 17th, 18th century Spanish history and 18th century British history.
Gotcha.
Now, that's something you don't see a lot in St. Augustine, although it was a very important time.
They were only here for about 20-something years, right?
Exactly, but there was something else going on up north.
Yeah, that little Revolutionary War thing.
Yeah, he was being thrown in harbor.
Crazy
so,
up north.
we were loyal to England during that time, so it's a tremendous story.
Yeah, a lot of expatriates actually came down here from the north, right?
They did. They actually did. Yeah. So it was a great time, interesting times, lots of intrigue, a lot of politics going on.
The pubs were full then.
Well, can you imagine the conversation?
I can imagine,
with everything
yeah.
that's going on up north. So we had a good time here.
Very cool. Well, speaking of pubs, I hear you have a couple of restaurants/pubs here on the premise, right?
We do. We're standing in the Taberna del Caballo. It's the Tavern of the Horse.
Right.
And the reason it's called that is the 2 men that used to live here in 1740 on this piece of property were cavalrymen in the Spanish Army. So they actually rode their horses and went into battle. Yeah. And so we named it the Tavern of the Horse in honor of that.
And the tabernas, if I understood it right, are sort of segregated by what you did. Is that correct?
Many times they were.
Yeah.
Almost like a guild in England.
Right.
People that were of like mind tended to hang out together. So your blacksmith hung out with your blacksmith, your carpenter hung out with your carpenter.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Now, for the first-time visitor, what would you suggest that they do and how should they approach coming to Colonial Square?
Well, you've got to take the adventure tour, you've got to get on a tour, get the overview, participate in a musket drill.
Right.
Just see it all, do it all, get a good sense of it. Love climbing up the watchtower, you look over top of the fort. You want to dig in the discovery boxes. We've got archaeology discovery boxes.
That's pretty cool.
Kids of all ages love to play in those. So you find swords and pottery and all kinds of good stuff. But yeah, there's a lot to see and do here. And then you top it off with a cold sangria, or you get a cold pint at the pub.
Yeah.
A little bit of
or
food.
Both.
Yeah, you get a little bit of food, and it's a nice day.
Now, when it comes to the food, is it food of the time, or is it just your typical?
Well, it's inspired by history.
Gotcha.
It's not, if you cook the food they actually ate back in the 1700s, nobody would eat it. There's no salt. There's
not very tasty.
Yeah, it's not very tasty.
I always enjoy living history events and reenactments. It gives you a great understanding for what everyday life was like way back when. My kids enjoy these events too. And when I look at how people actually lived in the colonial days, their houses, clothing, food, my lifestyle seems really bloated and very luxurious in comparison. And when you visit the Colonial Quarter, you'll see for yourself exactly what I'm talking about. Now, it wouldn't be a fantastic episode of I Know Jax if we didn't include food in it. This week, I went back to the fish company for more seafood. And this time, Bill Penner is making me ceviche shots.
Well, we start with some vegetables. In this case, we're going to use some celery.
Some celery, not bad.
We're going to chop it up kind of fine. Don't need a whole bunch for the portion we're doing today.
Well, it is spoon size.
It is spoon
size. We're not going
size.
to go crazy here. We're not making a salad, right?
We ain't making a salad, Joe.
Bill continued with the shallot.
I wouldn't normally discard that, Joe, but
you know, for me,
I'm doing it for you.
The best.
Special. TV. Then we take one of these babies, a little jalapeno pepper. Or habanero.
Habanero. I know the difference. Those are a little hotter.
That'll hurt you.
I like those.
That's why I wear the one glove.
The Michael Jackson style.
I don't want to touch those seeds.
Got ya. Now we have celery, shallots, and habanero in the bowl. Time to add fish. Bill cuts the snapper into tiny pieces to reduce the time it takes to marinate. So fresh local ingredients, made right here.
Made right here in Florida.
Gotta love it. He adds a pinch of sugar to balance the heat just a little bit, and about half a teaspoon of sea salt. Then we add lime and lemon juice.
I'm doing pretty much 3-to-1.
Gotcha.
Lemons, 2 lime juice.
So I'm gonna ask a dumb question. Whitefish, is that a type of fish or?
Well, we just use several different types of fish.
of whitefish? Okay.
Yeah. So one day it could be flounder, one day it could be tilapia.
So a whitefish, I got
A whitefish.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
So that's about the consistency we want.
All right, sweet.
So you can see that it's already starting
to cook. Yeah.
All right.
And the trick there is cutting it up into small pieces so you don't have to wait too long, right?
That's correct.
The fresh basil smells really good. What type of basil is that? That doesn't look like the regular globe basil or...
Well...
It's that kind of basil.
That's basil. What we get from like Colonial, Florida.
Gotcha.
There's a little
Local.
herb farm there.
Sweet.
We're not trying to break any chopping records.
No, I don't break any records of any kind.
So that's we're just going to use a small amount of that basil.
Oh, nice.
And we are going to, we've pretty much completed the dish. So we pretty much finished our ceviche. So I'll show you how we would serve this.
All right.
And I'll show you how I would eat it. Because, you know, I don't think you know, but there's Peruvians who this recipe is based on.
Right.
They have a certain way of eating ceviche.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And they don't dip it.
Okay.
And they don't spoon it. They don't use chips for it. It's one bite.
Slurp the whole thing down.
Slurp the whole thing down. That way you get everything.
My kind of people.
Yeah.
I like those.
So you get the juice and you get everything. So we got our little toasted chip. You take the whole spoon.
Dude did it right. So it's like a shot. It's a seafood shot.
And it's delicious.
So, not to be outdone, I'm going to have to try that too. It's a whitefish ceviche shot.
He's already changed the name of it. From a spoon to a shot.
Dude, that's awesome. Nice heat.
Fresh and easy. You get a little heat in there.
I like that.
We might have over habanero.
No, not for me, man. You can't get it too hot. Wow. Now that's my kind of dish. Fresh with a little bit of a bite. Absolutely perfect. In last week's episode, Bill was showing me how to eat crab. You can watch that video on iknowjax.com or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll always know as soon as new videos are available.
It's Ed Horton from the Jacksonville Giants from Shreveport, Louisiana, and you watching I Know Jax. Yeah!
Today I'm with Marc Boostum, the beer guy, and we're going to talk about something really serious.
Really serious.
Beer.
Beer.
What kind of beer?
Session beer.
Session beer. What is a session beer?
A session beer is a low alcohol beer that you can drink a lot of and not get totally sloppy.
Okay, I'm down with that.
I mean, beer tastes good, right?
It tastes great.
Beer break.
Beer break. So I'm having a beer session right now. Is that what we're doing?
Sort of.
I hadn't gotten sloppy yet.
Generally, what the session beer started, again, a story.
A story. Can you tell me a story, Mark?
Sure. Back in England during World War I.
We have a lot of England stories.
Well, England has a lot of beer.
Okay.
So does Germany and
Yeah.
Belgium. All those little countries right there. So during World War I, England people like to drink a lot of beer.
They really do.
But during World War I, they had to be able to build shells for, cannons and that kind of
Right.
stuff. And they had to be able to come back to work
The factory workers had to go back and not be sloppy drunk.
and not be sloppy drunk and blow things up.
Yeah.
It's bad.
bad. That's
It's
a
bad
bad
when that
thing.
happens. It's bad. So session
Quality control
beers,
goes downhill.
session beers are tasty beers that have low alcohol, around 3.5% to 4%.
Right.
By definition, they're less than 5.1%.
Okay.
So you can drink a good number of them. And the sessions that's referred to in session beer is there were certain times of the day that were legally prescribed that they could drink beer. It was like 3 to 4 hour periods.
Designated beer
They were
drinking time.
designated beer drinking times.
Leave it to the Brits.
I know. You know what my designated beer drinking time is?
Awake.
Anytime the alarm goes off and my feet hit the ground.
Waking time.
That's right. But I mean, really, it was all about finding a beer that you liked,
Yeah.
that was a low enough alcohol that you could go for a while and drink for a while with your buddies.
Right.
Because, well, what is a public house? It's a gathering place. That's what the Brits are known
Gotcha.
for. The public houses were gathering places where that was their social clubs.
He's talking about pubs, in case you were wondering.
Yeah, the social houses.
Right.
That's where everybody went to just
Hang out.
hang out with their friends, talk about what happened during the day, get the news of the day, everything.
Right.
Everything happened in the pubs. So if you're going to be there for a long time, you want to be able to remain coherent.
Semi, anyway.
I mean, upright is a good idea.
Exactly.
And then if you had to go back to work, you didn't want to blow everybody else up.
That's always a bad
It's always a
thing.
good thing. I mean, it's a good thing not to blow people up. It's a bad thing to blow people up. But I mean, a good session beer. Well, Sierra Nevada makes a nice session beer. There's, I mean, a lot of anything really below 5.1% is a good sessionable beer. You can drink for a couple of hours, 3 or 4 of them, and not really have to worry too much about it.
You know what, Mark? Every time we get together, it's like a little history lesson and beer. And I think we're going to wrap it up on that and see you guys again on the next Beer Guy Station. Now, I was thinking about how few possessions people had when I was at the Colonial Quarter. If you wanted a bed, you had to make it yourself. Makes the old saying, "Now you made your bed, lay in it," have a completely different meaning, doesn't it? Nowadays, most of us struggle with clutter, which is really just too many possessions. There's an interesting movement towards simplifying our lives and our living spaces and keeping your impact on the environment small. We're going to explore that a little bit in next week's show. But first, I need your help. We are working hard to build our newsletter list for I Know Jax, and you can help. Spread the word about the show. Go like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Believe it or not, there are still people who don't know about I Know Jax. Can you imagine? Now that's it for this week. I'll be back next week with another episode of I Know Jax. And until then, I'll see you on the internet.